The 3 Atlas anomaly. For months, scientists assured the world that 3 Atlas was nothing more than a harmless visitor. A comet rushing past Mars, bright in the sky, and then gone forever into the void. Yet events in space rarely unfold without surprise. New data from the James Webb Space Telescope changed the story. Calculations shifted. The path altered. And for the first time, researchers whispered the one possibility they never wanted to admit: 3 Atlas could strike Mars. At first sight, nothing seemed unusual. The object was discovered on July 1, racing through the solar system at nearly 87 kilometers per second. At that speed, the distance between Earth and the Moon would vanish in little more than an hour. Fast, but comets are fast. What startled scientists was not the velocity, but the behavior. Instead of slowing or fragmenting near the Sun, the object began to accelerate. Its path narrowed. Course corrections appeared as though it was steering itself. The gas cloud around it, called a coma, doubled in brightness in just weeks. Spectrographs showed violent ultraviolet spikes and streams of carbon dioxide unlike any natural comet ever recorded. It acted less like ice breaking under sunlight and more like a ship adjusting its course. Then the strangest detail arrived. Webb detected bursts of gas venting at perfect 17-minute intervals. Not random sprays, but pulses as steady as a heartbeat. Spacecraft use thrusters. This comet behaved like one. As other observatories joined in, the numbers grew disturbing. The object was no longer a safe flyby. Simulations placed it less than 2 million kilometers from Mars. A small push, only a fraction more acceleration, and the trajectory would plunge directly into the red planet. Each pulse was a nudge. Each nudge moved it closer. Radar signals bounced from orbiters and antennas added another layer of unease. The echoes returned metallic, not soft like ice. Something inside 3 Atlas reflected like engineered material. Amateur astronomers captured long-exposure images showing thin green beams, needle-like, pointing toward Mars and flashing in rhythm with the bursts. The suggestion became harder to avoid. This was not a comet behaving randomly. It looked deliberate. It looked guided. If impact occurred, the energy released would be unimaginable. A mass of 10 billion tons traveling faster than 50 kilometers per second would deliver millions of megatons of force. The crater would stretch 60 kilometers wide and several deep. Dust would choke Mars' thin atmosphere. Orbiters could be destroyed by flying debris. Rovers would vanish beneath waves of ejected rock. Decades of exploration might be erased in seconds. But destruction might not be the only purpose. If the object carried complex molecules or even biological material hidden in its vapor, a collision could scatter them across Mars. Some scientists whispered of panspermia, life seeded between worlds. Not life from Mars to Earth this time, but life planted onto Mars. Leaked reports from Webb hinted at something even more shocking. Within the tail of 3 Atlas, spectrometers detected polymers resembling plastics and traces of carbon nanotube-like structures. Substances no natural comet should carry. Mixed among them were isotopes of carbon and hydrogen that did not match any known pattern in our solar system. The evidence pointed to construction, not coincidence. Soon after, agencies grew quiet. NASA's usual press updates slowed. Streams from Mars rovers and orbiters showed unexplained gaps. An internal message surfaced with the phrase, "Impact Protocol initiated." No one outside the circle of experts knew what it meant. But encrypted signals were suddenly sent to nearly every functioning probe on or around Mars, as if preparing the planet itself. For months, astronomers charted 3 Atlas as nothing more than an interstellar visitor, a comet bound for a close pass of Mars before fading back into the void. But the closer it came, the less it behaved like any ordinary comet. Its motion bent against expectations, and its rhythm pulsed with precision. When plotted carefully, its trajectory was no accident of gravity. The flight path pointed directly at a feature long catalogued but rarely studied, a circular basin in the Martian region of Elysium Planitia. The depression shimmered with crystalline formations that flashed in infrared whenever sunlight struck them at just the right angle. Geologists had written them off as a natural oddity, but now this crystal basin sat squarely in line with the comet's descent. A target, perfectly framed by chance or by design. Then came the shadow. Instruments across the world began registering not one body, but two. A companion followed 3 Atlas like a ghost, locked at a constant distance. It gave no radar return, no heat signature, yet it moved with uncanny precision. Every wobble matched, every adjustment mirrored. Theories raced. Was it a fragment, a second craft, or some invisible tether binding them together? Some researchers described it as an echo field, a projection rather than a body. Whatever it was, it made clear that 3 Atlas was not alone. Patterns unfolded the deeper scientists looked. The dates of its closest approaches fell exactly on rare orbital resonances, alignments of Earth, Mars, and the Sun that had been tracked for millennia. September 23rd. October 5th, November 11th. Astronomers calculated that such harmonics occurred only once in thousands of years. For the object to arrive on those dates strained belief. Randomness could no longer explain it. The comet moved by a clock. Even stranger was the signal hidden in its rhythm. Every 17 minutes, a pulse rippled outward, a tiny flare of particles and radiation. To machines, it looked like nothing more than a repeating spike. But when neuroscientists played recordings of those pulses to human volunteers, something remarkable happened. Brainwaves began to synchronize. Isolated individuals in separate rooms, unaware of one another, drifted into the same neural pattern, as if their thoughts were subtly tuned to the same metronome. It was not a message in words, but a resonance that reached both matter and mind. Ancient records gave the phenomenon an eerie precedent. In Babylonian tablets, in Mayan codices, in Indian carvings, stories described a serpent of fire that curved near the sun and fell toward the red planet. One pre-Incan stone, long dismissed as ceremonial art, showed Mars surrounded by radiating lines, a spread identical to the debris field modern simulations predicted if a comet struck the Elysium basin. Across cultures separated by oceans, the same story repeated, a fiery visitor aimed at Mars. Was it history remembered or prophecy recorded? Meanwhile, Mars itself began to stir. Seismometers aboard orbiters picked up subtle tremors from fissures thought extinct. Spectrometers detected rare isotopes venting from the crust, isotopes that rose and fell in sync with the 17-minute pulse of the comet. Magnetometers caught repeating bursts of energy, the same rhythm echoing beneath the surface. Even dormant volcanic zones showed faint but rising heat. The planet seemed less like a passive target and more like a system preparing for activation, as though anticipating what was to come. The final observations deepened the mystery further. Within the vapor trail of 3 Atlas, chemical analysis uncovered not random dust, but ordered chains of molecules. They were not DNA or RNA, but strands built on the same logic, polymers capable of storing information and replicating under the right conditions. They were a message, but also a seed, a courier carrying the blueprint of something not yet alive, but ready to awaken. 3 Atlas was never just a comet. Its orbit was an arrow, its pulses a language, its shadow a companion, and its molecular cargo a code. Whether it collides with Mars or merely grazes past, the delivery has already been made. The red planet is no longer silent. Its crust hums with resonance, its crystals flash with purpose, and deep within Elysium Planitia, the response has already begun. Visitors, it seems, never arrive without reason. And this one has aimed with intent.